So friends, who will let me know? कौन बताएगा? What are the due dates for filing of income tax return? General, I'm talking about, not for a particular year, the year which is going on. That we will discuss as separate part. What are the due dates for assessment year 21-22? What are the general due dates for filing income tax return? First of all, let me know the dates. Then we will talk about for whom they are applicable. Anyone having idea? You must have filed your returns of income for assessment year 21-22. Is ITR is required to be filed by end of the year? Like for example, this financial year 21-22 is going on. Am I supposed to file income tax return by 31st of March 2022? Friends, try to be interactive as much as possible and put your queries. And also provide me the answers, whatever you in mind. Friends, what are you sharing through this particular question box is not visible to any other participant. So do not feel that even if you give the wrong answer, then there will be something bad or something like negative image and all sort of things. Okay, Mr. Ramesh, I agree whether it was December 21. I'm just asking the general due dates without any extension and something else. Okay, thanks, Mr. Kumar. He's saying that 31st is July for individuals. Okay. And what about others? Is it 31st July or any other particular date? Okay, 30th September for companies. Okay, nice enough. Friends, you have given like correct answers. I will not say that these are not correct answers. But when we are doing this particular certification course, our focus should be on the technical language of the law. Reason being, when we face a particular situation that what is the due date for this particular case, we always face a problem whether it is 31st July or some else date. So let's see how the law tells us regarding a particular due date for filing of ITR. And friends, it is very easy to remember the technical language of the law or technical requirement of the law. और अगर आपको ये language याद है, then friends, within a span of seconds, you will be able to tell a due date for a particular scenario, particular case to anyone else. Friends, due dates are provided by section 139(1) of the Income Tax Act. And how it provides? It says, in case for any person, when we talk about what any person, it includes persons from individual to companies, every type of person. On whom provisions of transfer pricing are applicable for that particular previous year. If provisions of transfer pricing are applicable, then due date for filing of income tax return is 30th of November of the assessment year. If provisions of transfer pricing are applicable, whether audit is applicable or not, whether it is individual or company, or indirectly I will say that that particular person is required to file form number 3CEB. This particular due date, if I talk about, is not relevant at large. Very limited number of assessees are required to file transfer pricing reports, and hence their due date is 30th of November. Now, for whom this due date of 31st of October is applicable? When you said the 30th September for companies or where audit is required, that was true if I talk about 2 years before. But 2 years before, they made the amendment and simply said that in case audit is required or assesses company, then due date is 30th of 1st of October. And they have changed the scenario. Earlier, tax audit report was required to be filed simultaneously or before filing of ITR. There was no time gap between the filing of tax audit report and filing of income tax return. Even they can be filed on the single day. But 2 years before, they have changed the scenario, changed the law, and simply said that the tax audit reports are required to be filed at least 1 month before the due date of filing of income tax return. That means if any person is liable for audit under income tax law, that audit report is required to be filed by 30th of September. So indirectly, I can say that it increased the due date for filing of ITR by 1 month in the law itself, and not as an exception for a particular year. So 31st of October is applicable for whom? किसके लिए applicable है 31st of October? First of all, company. किसके लिए applicable है? Company. तो एक particular company, whether private limited, public limited, whether it is listed or unlisted, does not make any difference at all. Income tax law में audit होनी है या नहीं होनी है? Whatever the scenario may be, the due date is 31st of October. Any person whose books of accounts are required to be audited under which law? Under any law. Friends, it's not necessary that audit is required under income tax law, then only due date shall be 31st of October. If that person books of our accounts are required to be audited under any law, including income tax law, then due date for filing of income tax return is 31st of October. Can anyone tell me the requirement of audit other than income tax law? For any person other than company. For company, statutory audit is required under Companies Act 2013. Under income tax law, we know that tax audit is required under section 44AB when turnover of the business or profession of the assessee exceeds a particular limit. Any example for any person other than company where audit is required by that particular law which is applicable to that particular person or entity? Any example, friends? कोई आपके दिमाग में आ रहा हो? Like best example, friends, I can provide in case of LLP, limited liability partnership. LLP are governed by Limited Liability Partnership Act 2008, and that provides अगर LLP का turnover is greater than 40 lakhs or paid up capital is greater than 25 lakh. In either of the case, the books of accounts of LLP are required to be audited. So friends, it may be possible that particular LLPs not require audit under income tax law. For example, LLP's turnover is 60 lakhs only. In that case, LLP is not required any tax audit at all. But under LLP Act, books of accounts are required to be audited, and hence due date for filing of ITR by such LLP under income tax law will be 31st of October. Hope I'm clear, friends. So ये please remember करना that requirement of audit is under any law, not necessarily income tax law. Third category, इस पे थोड़ी देर में आते हैं. Now, for whom 31st of July is applicable? Friends, when we use the word 31st of July is for individuals, technically we are wrong. But practically okay, to the maximum extent, to the best extent possible, we are okay with that. But technically we are wrong because it is quite possible that any person includes an individual and whose books of accounts are required to be audited. And generally under income tax law, if the turnover exceeds a particular limit. So technically we cannot say that 31st of July is for individuals. Then for whom 31st of July is applicable? Friends, law is very clear. Whenever the lawmakers try to frame the law, draft the law, they try to draft the law in such a manner that there is no fourth possibility or third possibility is left with. So they write the law that 31st of July is applicable for any person who is not covered up above. जो ऊपर कवर अप नहीं है, कहने का मतलब एनी पर्सन फॉर whom due date is not 30th of November, for whom due date is not 31st October, then due date will be 31st of July. And this any person may include any person except company. Friends, it may be LLP, it may be partnership firm, it may be charitable trust, it may be individuals, it may be HUF. The 31st of July is applicable for any person who is not covered up above. तो आई थिंक आई एम क्लियर विद दैट पर्टिकुलर एस्पेक्ट। और अब आप ध्यान रखेंगे प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ में आपसे कोई सवाल पूछता है कि हाँ जी 31st ऑफ जुलाई किसके लिए, तो सिंपल जवाब ये होना चाहिए कि जिनके लिए 31st ऑफ अक्टूबर और 30th ऑफ नवंबर ड्यू डेट नहीं है। नाउ मिस्टर कातिरवन हैज अ वेरी गुड क्वेरी एंड प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ क्वेरी इफ आई टॉक अबाउट, और बहुत बार आई एम यूज्ड टू फेस दिस पर्टिकुलर क्वेरी। फ्रेंड्स, आप सबसे मैं सवाल ये रिपीट करता हूं एंड यू हैव टू गिव मी द आंसर। व्हाट इज द ड्यू डेट फॉर अ पर्टिकुलर डायरेक्टर ऑफ द कंपनी? वर्किंग डायरेक्टर है, होल टाइम डायरेक्टर है, मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर है, कंपनी इज रिक्वायर्ड टू गेट स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट, कंपनी का टर्नओवर बहुत अच्छा है, कंपनी इज रिक्वायर्ड टू गेट टैक्स ऑडिट ऑल्सो, कंपनी पे सारी ऑडिट एप्लीकेबल है, उसके मेन डायरेक्टर के लिए ड्यू डेट ऑफ आईटीआर क्या होगी? बहुत बढ़िया, मिस्टर रमेश हैज गिवन अ पर्टिकुलर आंसर and at this particular stage I'm not making any comment whether it is true or wrong. He has given the answer that is 31st of July. Friends, on that particular director, we are talking about the due date. Is director and company a separate legal persons? Yes, no doubt. Director is a separate legal person, company is a separate legal person. There is no link between the two except that he is director of that particular company. Now what we have to check out? Whether 30th of November is applicable? No. I'm assuming that director has not entered into any such transaction for which he is required to file form number 3CB. If it is required, then 30th of November is the due date. Is that director a company? No. Director company nahi hai. Is a person whose books of accounts are required to be audited. फ्रेंड्स, सिर्फ डायरेक्टर होने के कारण बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स मेंटेन नहीं करनी और ऑडिट नहीं करवानी। It may be possible that he is carrying a business in his personal capacity. That's a different scenario. अगर वो पर्सनल कैपेसिटी में बिजनेस कैरी कर रहा है, then may be possible that his books of accounts are required to be audited, but only being the director of the company, that is the only fact. There is no requirement of audit at all. This third situation pending as for now, I am making sure that the director, being the director of the company, he is not covered up by the third situation also. Then what is the only option left? That is 31st of July. Is that clear, Mr. Katiravan? Now coming to the third part for 31st of October. Friends, ध्यान से देखना. 31st of October is applicable for two persons that we have discussed, that is company. Second, any person whose books of accounts are required to be audited. Third, 31st of October, third type of person. Partner of a firm or LLP. कौन सी firm or LLP? Whose books of accounts are required to be audited under any law. If books of accounts of a particular firm or LLP are required to be audited under any law, then due date for partner of such firm or LLP shall also be 31st of October. Friends, in personal capacity, whether partners' books of accounts are required to be audited or under any law does not matter at all. If firm's books of accounts are required to be audited. Now, it may be possible that a partner, like for example, if I talks in terms of financial year 21-22, joins this particular firm or LLP on 8th of Feb 2022. And ultimately that firm or LLP books of accounts are required to be audited, whatever the reason may be. But he joins that particular partnership firm on 8th of Feb 2022 or retires or resigns from the firm from 8th of Feb 22 or maybe 8th of April 21. But ultimately books of accounts of firms or LLP are required to be audited. Then even for such partner, due date will be 31st of October. Due date. Even if you are partner for a single day in a firm or LLP, and that firm or LLP books of accounts are required to be audited, due date for you shall be 31st of October and not 31st of July. Now, can anyone tell me what is the reason or what could be the logic behind this particular extended due date for a partner? एक पार्टनर के लिए एक्सटेंडेड ड्यू डेट का बेनिफिट क्यों दिया? आई एम लिंकिंग विद दैट द क्वेरी ऑफ द मिस्टर कातिरवन कि कंपनी के डायरेक्टर के लिए एक्सटेंडेड ड्यू डेट का बेनिफिट नहीं दिया, बट फॉर अ पार्टनर ऑफ ए फर्म और एलएलपी द बेनिफिट ऑफ एक्सटेंडेड ड्यू डेट हैज बीन प्रोवाइडेड. Any logic? Any provision of the income tax law which has link with this particular aspect, particular question? In brief, in 2 or 3 words or section number you may be knowing. Okay. Very perfect answer has been given by Mr. Prasanna Krishnan that partner is required to disclose his share of profit and remuneration in his return. Okay. Mr. Ramesh, is there any partner is an individual? Mr. Ramesh, in a partnership firm or LLP, it's not necessarily that individuals are only partners. A company can also be a partner. Katiravan is saying partner is an association of person. Okay, I will not debate this particular aspect technically as per income tax law. Friends, the answer given by the Mr. Prasanna is very perfect. Let's have a discussion in brief. Friends, a particular partner derives 3 types of income from a partnership firm. The incomes which I am talking about, he derives in the capacity of partner. It may be possible that partner is giving his personal property on rent to the partnership firm. That rent is also an income, but he is not deriving rent because he is partner. So because of his partner status, he generally derives 3 types of incomes. First is profit share. Second is interest on capital. And third is remuneration. Or in practical life, we also say salary. Friend, this profit share is exempt in the hands of partner. Firm is already paid taxes on the profit. The balance profit after tax is totally exempt in the hands of the partner. There is no double taxation at all. So when this profit share is exempt, then it does not make any difference in the taxable income of the partner. Okay, that is okay, that share of profit is required to be disclosed, but that does not make any big difference. That because of this, the government provides extended due date. Ultimately, it is exempt whether it is reported 100 rupees less or 100 rupees etc. does not make any difference. Interest on capital. Friends, this interest on capital can be calculated independently, irrespective what is the profit of the partnership firm. Under income tax law, friends, section 40 clause B puts restriction that maximum 12% per annum interest can be paid to the partners. If partners are paid like 14% or 15% per annum interest on capital, then maximum interest which will be allowed as business expense to the partnership firm will be 12% per annum, and this 12% per annum will be treated as income in the hands of the partner. There is no double taxation at all. In case firm pays 15%, okay, you can pay 15%, but as per income tax law, all the calculations will be made that 12% per annum interest is paid. But if actually 10% per annum is paid, then calculations will be as per 10% per annum. So now this 12% per annum or 10% per annum, whatever can be independent independently, it does not make any difference कि फर्म ने कोई प्रॉफिट अर्न किया नहीं किया, फर्म की टैक्सेबिलिटी क्या है, all sort of questions does not matter at all. So again, this does not any impact, it does not makes any link between the partnership and partner. Can be calculated independently, okay, no issues. But remuneration or salary, friends, any amount of remuneration or salary can be paid as per partnership act read with partnership deed to any partners. But income tax act puts some restriction. It says whatever the salary you pay, but we will make calculations considering maximum salary. They have put a restriction upper cap. If you are paying salary more than this, then excess will not be counted towards the calculation at all. Now, what is the maximum salary? First of all, you have to compute book profit of partnership firm. Now, what is book profit? That is income under business head. That you compute income of the partnership firm under business head after applying all the provisions of the income tax law, but before salary of partners. That means in simple terms, if I prepare profit and loss account of the partnership firm as per provisions of the income tax law, then what will be the net profit of the partnership firm, but before debiting any salary of any partner? That will be called book profit. Now on this particular book profit, the law says again section 40 clause B, for first 3 lakh of book profit, you can pay 90% as salary, 90% of book profit, plus balance book profit 60% of book profit. This total is the maximum salary which can be paid to the partners. Now, friends, ultimately, which is the allowable salary as per income tax law will be treated as business expense to the partnership firm, and that salary will only be taxable in the hands of the partner. Let's have a small example, and on the basis we will have discussion. I'm coming to that, Mr. Kumar. That's a relevant query you are asking, and I'm coming to that only. Like, for example, there is a partnership firm in which there are 3 partners, A, B, and C. Okay. Interest at the rate 14% and salary 1,40,000, 70,000, 2,10,000. That is the interest actually paid to them. Salary 4 lakh, 5 lakh, 6 lakh. Now, for example, this is the small P&L account of the partnership firm. Gross profit, like for example, 30 lakhs. Expenses 18 lakh. Interest to partners Make it this total 4,20,000 and salary 15 lakh. This comes to loss. Okay, reduce it to 18 lakh instead of make it 10 lakh. Okay, net profit comes to 80,000. That is a simple P&L. Now, first of all, we have to compute business head income before salary. Okay. Like for example, net profit is 80,000 plus interest. Add back full interest, 4,20,000. Add back full salary, 15 lakh. Add any expense which is not allowed as per income tax law. It may be possible that the firm may have incurred any expense which is not allowed as per income tax law. Best example, if I talk about, like the firm incurred expenses in cash more than 10,000 in a day, so then that expense is not allowed. And maybe any other expense which is barred by income tax department. And assuming it to be, for example, 80,000. I'm just assuming. Now this will be called, now this is book profit. Make it total, that 5 lakh, 20 lakh. This is 20 lakh, 80,000. Minus interest. Now, first of all, we have to compute interest which is allowed as per income tax law. As per income tax law, 12% is allowed and not 14%. The 12% will be 1,20,000 plus 60,000 plus 1,80,000. I think that you can calculate. That makes it 3,60,000. If this is 14%, then what will be 12%? That you can calculate. So friends, this will be called book profit. 20 lakh 80,000 minus 3 lakh 60,000, that makes it 17 lakh 20,000. Now, what is the actual salary which is paid to the partners? That is 15 lakh. Maximum salary which you can pay as per section 40 clause B, that is 3 lakh minus 3 lakh multiplied by 90%, that is 2,70,000. Balance book profit 14 lakh 20,000 multiplied by 60% is equal to, फ्रेंड्स 20,000 का 60%, 12,000, 14 लाख का 60%, 14 पंजे 70, 8,40,000, 8,52,000. So this is the maximum salary which can be paid as per income tax law to the partners, that is 10 lakh, 11 lakh, 22,000. Now, when actual salary is more than maximum salary, then maximum salary will be treated as the salary paid to the partners. Friends, now this salary minus this book profit, write it here, 17,20,000 minus salary as per income tax law, 11,20,000. This will be business income of partnership firm, which is taxable under income tax law. Make it the difference, that is 6 lakh, 5 lakh, 98,000. I think this is clear in respect of partnership firm. Now, what will be the taxability in the hands of the partners? Are partners required to pay tax on these amounts? No. Friends, there is no double taxation. Now, as per income tax law, section 28, clause 5, it says whatever the amount of interest and salary is expense for the partnership firm will be treated as income in the hands of the partner. That means there is no double taxation. What is the amount of interest which is allowed as an expense to the firm? That is 120 plus 60 plus 180 and not 140 plus 70 plus 210. So whatever is treated as expense will be treated as income in the hands of the partner. In the hands of the partners, interest will be taxable 1,20,000, 60,000, 1,80,000. What will be the amount of salary? Friends, this 15 lakh will not be taxable. What will be the taxable amount of salary? That will be 11,20,000 in total for 3 partners. And in the hands of the partner, it will be distributed in the ratio of 4:5:6, in the ratio of the actual salary. This 11,20,000 will be distributed in this particular ratio, and that will be the amount of salary taxable in the hands of the partners A, B, and C. I hope your query is also covered up, Mr. Kumar, in this particular aspect. So this maximum salary is for cumulative for all partners. Now, friends, to identify this particular portion in the hands of the partner, we need to compute income of the partnership firm first. Unless and until income of the firm is not computed, partners' taxable income cannot be computed. And this is the logic, in my view, that extended due dates have been provided to the partners in a case where partnership firm books of accounts are required to be audited. To make it at par, now there could be two partnership firm, no audit, then due date will be 31st of July. Then for partners, due date will be 31st of July. Parallel can be calculated simultaneously. But there is a partnership firm in which audit is required, then due date for such partnership firm will be 31st of October. In that case, partners due date shall also be 31st of October to make it at par at parallel. So friends, this is the provision in respect of partnership firm. Now, very simple question from you. There is a partnership firm or LLP whose income is consist only of rent income from properties. That means the income is covered up by income from house property. There is no business income at all. There is no business income at all. Now, should any salary be paid to the partners? Will it provide any kind of benefit? Okay, perfect answer, no. Friends, when there is income from house property, there is no business income. What will be the book profit? Zero. What will be the book profit? Zero. When book profit is zero, that no salary will be allowed as an expense to the partnership firm, then what is the use of making the payment of salary at all? There is no use. So friends, salary as a part of tax planning shall only be paid only in the case where there is a business profit of the partnership firm and partners' personal income other than this salary is limited to that extent where slab rates of 30% are not being touched. Because friends, if partners' personal income is in the slab of 30, then the tax rate is same in both the cases. Firm are also required to pay 30%. Partners are also required to pay 30%. And if I talk about partners' personal income crosses 1 CR, then there is no benefit to pay salary from the firm at all, provided there is mutual understanding with the partners. Reason being, in case of individuals, we have discussed yesterday that maximum rate of surcharge is 37%. More than 1 CR, it is 15%. But in case of partnership firm or LLP, maximum rate of surcharge is 12%. In that case, the firm becomes tax efficient as compared to the individuals, and profit share is exempt. It's better to pay tax as part of firm, and the balance amount will be exempt in the hands of the partners at all. So there will be no question of surcharge at all or higher rate of surcharge. Friends, anything you would like to ask in this particular aspect we have discussed regarding due dates of ITR? Okay, very nice query by Mr. Kumar. And I'm asking you from friends, you only. Friends, don't think that I have no idea about the query or I don't know the answer. That's why I'm asking you. Sometimes ये जोक बनाए जाते हैं टीचर्स के रेस्पेक्ट में कि अगर उसको खुद को जवाब पता होता है तो सेकंड्स में दे देते हैं और जवाब नहीं पता होता दे डोंट नो द आंसर तो बाकी सारे स्टूडेंट से ही पूछ लेते हैं कि क्या पता कुछ इनपुट मिल ही जाए. So it is not so here in this particular case. Mr. Kumar is asking if a person is a partner in two firms and in which one of the firm books of accounts are required to be audited, and in other firm there is no requirement of audit at all, then what shall be the due date to file ITR by such particular partner? He has given the answer, is just making the confirmation that it shall be 31st of October. What do you say, friends? A particular person is a partner in two firms. First firm is required books of accounts audited. Second is not required. Mr. Katiravan, 31st only, 31st of July or 31st of October? Okay. Katiravan is also confirming the 31st of October. Yes, perfect answer. Mr. Kumar, your interpretation is perfect. Even in case you are partner in one of the firm in which accounts are required to be audited, due date becomes 31st of October. Rameshji, I'm not able to get your particular query. Is it related party transaction? You're asking in perception of partnership firm, that payment of salary and payment of interest? Yes, it's a related party. That is required to be reported under section 40, 40A2. That is required to be reported in tax audit report 40 capital A bracket 2. It's a related party transaction, no doubt in that. Friends, anything you would like to ask, or can we proceed with the next topic for today? Okay, let's proceed with, friends. Friends, we all know there are total 5 heads. Mr. Katiravan is asking whether a partner can take professional fee from the partnership firm. Mr. Katiravan, as such, there is no restriction under the income tax law or any other law whether a partner can charge professional fee from the partnership firm. But that is possible only in case when that particular partner is carrying profession in his personal capacity also. Although that may lead to the disputes as part of assessment proceedings with the income tax department, that you are diverting funds without any basis, but you need to establish why that particular partner is charging the professional fee from the partnership firm, what is the reason behind that, why is not taking as a part of firm profit share, and all sort of questions that you need to justify. Like it may be possible that I am a partner in a business firm, okay, and I'm doing my profession in personal capacity. I'm not talking about the institute guidelines. That is a separate aspect, whether I'm permitted or not. That is a separate aspect. I'm just assuming to explain you the thing. I'm a partner in a business firm and I'm doing my profession in a personal capacity. Now my partnership firm is required to represent a case before the income tax department, and I help them. And obviously, as a partner, I'm not supposed to do that because that is a business firm at all. I'm a partner in a business. So in that case, if I charge a professional fee for representation before the income tax department from the partnership firm, I think I will be able to justify that particular aspect and do not see any problem in that particular case. Okay, friends, under income tax law, we know there are 5 heads of income. Salary head. Then we have income from house property, then profits and gains of business or profession, then capital gains, then income from other sources. Friends, every person tries to save taxes. Now, to save taxes, there are 3 ways. One is tax planning, then is tax avoidance, and third is tax evasion. What is recommended? Only tax planning, not tax avoidance, not tax evasion. Not at all recommended. That is against the country, that is against the law, each other. Now, to counter tax evasion, friends, every time question arises that कि अगर मैं ये transaction करता हूं, if I'm doing particular transaction, how the government will catch. Friends, obviously government के लिए it's not possible to catch each and every type of transaction. Not at all possible. ठीक है, दे आर कलेक्टिंग द डाटा फ्रॉम वेरियस सोर्सेज, बट इट स्टिल मे बी पॉसिबल कि वो ट्रांजेक्शन कैच नहीं। बट व्हाट टू डू इन दैट केस? मैं अगर सारा काम ही कैश में करूं, कैश में रिसीट्स लेता हूं, कैश में पेमेंट्स करता हूं, नो रिकॉर्डिंग एट ऑल, कहीं ना कोई बैंकिंग चैनल, हाउ द गवर्नमेंट विल कम टू नो? बट टू हैव अ फियर, एक दिमाग में डर क्रिएट करना है कि अगर मैं कल को पकड़ा गया तो मेरे साथ क्या होगा। तो फ्रेंड्स, फॉर टैक्स इवेजन द प्रोविजंस फॉर लाइक पेनल्टी आर प्रोवाइडेड इन द लॉ, इंटरेस्ट, प्रोसिक्यूशन। फ्रेंड्स, फॉर टैक्स इवेजन इसके अलावा और कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है। ठीक है, द डिपार्टमेंट इज कलेक्टिंग द इंफॉर्मेशन बट टू क्रिएट ए फियर, जिससे कि लोग ये काम नहीं करें। फ्रेंड्स, प्रोविजंस आर प्रोवाइडेड इन रेस्पेक्ट ऑफ पेनल्टी, इंटरेस्ट एंड प्रोसिक्यूशन। और आज के दिन तो इतने हाई पेनल्टीज और टैक्स रेट्स और प्रोसिक्यूशन प्रोवाइड फॉर कर दिए हैं कि अगर मैं एक बार पकड़ा गया तो पता चला कि वट एवर अर्नड बाय वे ऑफ टैक्स इवेजन इन लास्ट 7 or 8 years, आई एम टोटली वाइप आउट। टैक्स अवॉइडेंस, these are nothing but use of loopholes in the law, which was never intended by the lawmakers. Friends, for the preventing tax avoidance, the only thing is to provide the provisions in the law. लॉ में क्या प्रोवाइड करें? प्रोविजंस, उन लूप होल्स को प्लग करने। एंड फ्रेंड्स, इफ आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस पर्टिकुलर गवर्नमेंट, I think they have dedicated a team for identifying such kind of loopholes, the tax avoidance we are used by the various entities. Friends, if you go for last 3 or 4 years amendments in the law, the maximum amendments are because of the reason that they want to plug the loopholes. अब लॉ में प्रोविजंस क्या हो सकते हैं? फ्रेंड्स, ओवर द टाइम क्या होता है जब एक कहीं पर भी किसी भी कंट्री में टैक्स लागू होता है, तो फ्रेंड्स, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल द पीपल ट्राई टू सेव टैक्सेस बाय टैक्स इवेशन, एंड दे आर that possible to the great extent, रीजन बीइंग डिपार्टमेंट के पास इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्शन के मैकेनिज्म नहीं होते, तो एक टैक्स इवेजन चलता है, देन इकोनॉमी शिफ्ट्स टू टैक्स अवॉइडेंस, क्योंकि धीरे धीरे टैक्स इवेजन की स्टेज बहुत मिनिमाइज हो जाती है, इतना डाटा कलेक्ट होता है कि इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल टू गो फॉर द टैक्स इवेजन, देन पीपल शिफ्ट टुवर्ड्स द टैक्स अवॉइडेंस की लूप होल्स को यूज करके, दैट वी आर विद इन द लॉ ब्रैकेट बट स्टिल वी आर यूजिंग द लूप होल्स टू सेव द टैक्सेस. And friends, when such loopholes are being plugged, the government comes to know, the community shifts to tax planning. And that is where we becomes the developed country. Friends, in last 7 or 8 years, if I talk about the progress of the country, at least from the income tax perspective, friends, we have moved last to the tax planning aspect. Tax avoidance has been reduced to the very minimum, if I talk about, as compared to last 7 or 8 years provisions. Now, how to prevent the loopholes? Friends, there are two types of provisions under the law. First is called SAR and second is called GAR. GAR, I think you must have heard this particular word GAR, General Anti-Avoidance Rules. And what is SAR? Specific Anti-Avoidance Rules. If I talk about SAR, friends, directly or indirectly, they are under income tax law even from the very beginning. Like when Income Tax Act 1961 was introduced, even in that SAR provisions were there. And that is from the development of the development of the knowledge of the government. Friends, जब इनकम टैक्स एक्ट 1922 था, as part of that उनके एक्सपीरियंस उनको पता चला कि how the people avoid the taxes, they developed the provisions which were incorporated in income tax act 1961 also. Friends, GAR, if I talk about, I think it was made applicable from 1st of April 17, General Anti-Avoidance Rules. Because friends, it is not like, I'm coming to that. Now, what is SAR? SAR, that providing a particular provision in the law to prevent a particular loophole. Like best example, if I talk about the tax avoidance mechanism, is that like I am a separate SSC, my wife is a separate SSC, I have income more than 20 lakh rupees in 30% slab, my wife income being a housewife is zero. और टैक्स बचाने के लिए व्हाट आई एम डूइंग, मैंने इनकम अर्निंग असेट्स गिफ्ट कर दिए स्पाउस को. वी ऑल नो दैट दैट प्रोविजन इज देयर. मैंने गिफ्ट कर दिए स्पाउस को. नाउ स्पाउस इज अर्निंग दैट इनकम. अगर क्लबिंग के प्रोविजन नहीं होते तो उस असेट जो गिफ्टेड असेट है उससे जो इनकम अराइज होगी दैट विल बी टैक्सेबल इन द हैंड्स ऑफ द स्पाउस एंड अल्टीमेटली आई विल गेट द बेनिफिट ऑफ स्लैब रेट्स। तो उसको रोकने के लिए क्या किया, दे इंट्रोड्यूस द प्रोविजंस ऑफ क्लबिंग। तो क्लबिंग प्रोविजंस आर नथिंग बट स्पेसिफिक एंटी अवॉइडेंस रूल्स व्हिच आर हिटिंग अ पर्टिकुलर लूप होल कि आप अपने स्पाउस को असेट गिफ्ट करके स्लैब रेट्स के कारण टैक्स रिड्यूस करते थे, उसको प्रिवेंट करने के लिए क्या बनाया, क्लबिंग के प्रोविजन। तो एक पर्टिकुलर लूप होल को प्लग करने के लिए जो प्रोविजन बनाया जाता है दैट इज कॉल्ड सार। तो फ्रेंड्स होता क्या, ओवर द टाइम व्हेन डेवलपमेंट इज देयर तो बहुत नए नए तरीके ढूंढ लिए जाते हैं फॉर द टैक्स अवॉइडेंस। ठीक है, जब उसका एक सैचुरेशन पॉइंट आएगा तो सारे टैक्स अवॉइडेंस खत्म हो जाएंगे, तो अब हर चीज नई आती जाएगी, तो उसको रोकने के लिए हर बार प्रोविजन प्रोविजन फ्यूचरिस्टिक बनेगा, प्रोस्पेक्टिव बनेगा। जो ऑलरेडी ट्रांजेक्शन हो चुकी है उसको कैसे रोके। तो फ्रेंड्स उसके लिए गवर्नमेंट एक कंसेप्ट लेके आए, जनरल एंटी अवॉइडेंस रूल्स। एंड एज पार्ट ऑफ दैट दे सिंपली सेड कि अगर आपने कोई सीरीज ऑफ स्टेप्स करी है, सीरीज ऑफ स्टेप्स फॉर अ पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजेक्शन एंड विच रिजल्ट्स इनटू अवॉइडेंस ऑफ टैक्स, which results into avoidance of tax, then we will check that कि अगर उसी ट्रांजेक्शन को किसी दूसरे तरीके से किया जाता तो हाउ मच टैक्स वुड हैव बीन देयर। अगर उन दोनों में डिफरेंस है तो गार विल अप्लाई, the gar will apply. Just a second, friend. Friends, gar provisions are very, if I talk about the technical, requires professional competency. So they have restricted the gar applicability only in the case where the tax impact is more than rupees 3 CR. Otherwise, gar provisions will not be applied. So there are two type of provisions, SAR and GAR. So what we are going to discuss the SAR, specific anti-avoidance rules or specific anti-avoidance provisions in respect of house property and clubbing. A combined analysis of two provisions. Now that is going to be the focus for now. Friends, the basics terminology समझ में आई, SAR and GAR. Friends, when I was comparatively young, although I am young even as on date, when I comparatively more young, friends, I saw the logo of that GMR. GMR used to write something like that. The company who develops the generally the airports, if I talk about, I used to read it out GAR, double A. And I used to say that, okay, what is that? The company name could be GAR, and in income tax there is a GAR. But later on I realized this is not GAR, this is GMR. होता यही है, आप जिस फील्ड में इन्वॉल्व हो जाते हैं फिर वही दिखता है हर जगह। Friends, gift to spouse. It could be house property. It could be any other asset. अगर मिस्टर ए ने मिसिस ए को एक पर्टिकुलर असेट, मे बी हाउस प्रॉपर्टी, मे बी एनी अदर असेट, गिफ्ट कर दिया, गिफ्ट मींस विदाउट एनी कंसिडरेशन, then in that case if it is house property section 27 will apply. But if it is any asset other than house property, then section 64 will apply. Now what is the difference between these two? Section 27 says that this house property will be deemed to be house property of Mr. A, or you can say owned by Mr. A. That is what is section 27 says. That in case if a particular person gives a house property to his or her spouse, then that particular person who is transferring the property shall be deemed to be the owner of such house property. Now what section 64 says? Any income arising any income arising from such asset shall be clubbed in the hands of transferor. That whomsoever transferred the asset, in whose hands the income will be taxable, like any other asset may I can like forego for money gift, and on that particular money the spouse is earning interest, maybe debentures, maybe shares, maybe land. If any income arises from any such kind of assets which are gifted by Mr. A to Mrs. A, then that income shall be treated as income of Mr. A in our exam. I hope I am clear with this particular language of the law, what the law says, why it says so, why they have created two provisions, that we are going to discuss as a separate part. Friends, I think this particular section 27 could have been merged with section 64. How does it make a difference? In either cases, whatever the rental income is there going to be from this particular house property will be taxable in the hands of Mr. A. Now, imagine there is no section 27. Imagine करते हैं कि section 27 नहीं है. Section 27 नहीं है. तो क्या सेक्शन 64 में इस हाउस प्रॉपर्टी से जो रेंट इनकम आती, क्या वो मिस्टर ए के हाथ में टैक्सेबल होती? यस. फिर यहां पर एनी अदर एसेट नहीं लिखा होता, एनी एसेट वर्ड लिखा होता. So I think that could have been merged, but there could be some logic behind that why the lawmakers have provided two separate sections. और friends, ये दोनों sections अगर मैं देखूं are there from the very beginning. ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई बाद में introduce हुआ और इसलिए कोई drafting error रह गया या ये चीज check नहीं हुई. There is a logic behind that. Can anyone tell me what could be the logic behind this particular aspect? Friends, logic के साथ साथ one more question regarding my voice you are getting as compared to the last session we had yesterday. Are you finding any difference in my voice? Like clarity I'm talking about. Are you getting my voice more clear as compared to yesterday, or maybe negative, positive? That was even clear yesterday also. Okay, Mr. Ramesh Singh saying it is more clear. Any kind of echo as compared to last session? Is there any difference? Okay, this is fine enough ना, मतलब आज की आवाज भी आपको fine enough है. Although I'm going to listen my videos again yesterday and today's session, and we'll try to find out is there any difference in the voice recording, whether it is a kind of echo or not. Mr. Kumar is saying that yesterday I was a little faster. Mr. Kumar, it depends on the topic which we are discussing. It depends on the topic. We have to be slow when we go for some technical aspects. Yesterday, I do not think so any kind of technical point we have discussed in detail. Today, we are discussing the technicalities of the law. So for that purpose, we have to be a little bit slow. Okay, friends, coming back to this particular aspect. Friends, इसके लिए we will have a brief discussion regarding the house property head. फिर इस point पे वापस आएंगे कि ये दो provision अलग-अलग क्यों दी है. We all know house property head. It talks about two types of properties: let out. Let out के केस में says gross annual value. That is nothing but your rent minus municipal taxes. This is called annual value. Minus 30% standard deduction. Minus interest on borrowed capital. Friends, this is allowed to any extent. No restriction. It may be possible that I'm deriving rent of rupees 2 lakh and my interest expense is 5 lakh rupees. That is quite possible. We all know the real estate returns as on date. In case of residential properties, friends, return in terms of rent is approximate 2%. But interest rate, if I talk about, is generally 6 to 7% in the case of housing loans. So it happens that the interest on borrowed capital is quite high as compared to the rent realized. So in case of let out property, friends, interest on borrowed capital is allowed to any extent. There is no restriction. It may be more than rent. It may even lead to negative income from house property. That is also possible, or you can say loss from house property. That is possible. Now, when we talk about self-occupied property, now what is self-occupied property? Residential होनी चाहिए. For the purpose of self-occupation होनी चाहिए. These are the conditions. And in case of self-occupied property, friends, annual value will be nil. Annual value will be nil. It means no municipal taxes will be allowed as an expense in case of self-occupied property. Minus 30% deduction, that will also be nil. Minus interest on borrowed capital, this is allowed, but maximum 2 lakh rupees. If you declare a particular residential property to be self-occupied property, then maximum interest as an expense you can claim is 2 lakh rupees. And that too only in the case if you are continuing with the old tax regime. In case of new tax regime, it is nil. If you go for new tax regime, friends, interest on self-occupied property is not allowed as an expense. But in case property is let out, whether you go for new tax regime or old tax regime, friends, whole of the interest on borrowed capital is allowed as an expense against your rent income. So please remember that before opting for the new tax regime, that you will not be eligible for deduction of 2 lakh rupees as interest against your self-occupied property. The maximum 2 lakh is interest. That means there could be a loss of 2 lakh rupees in case of self-occupied property. Now, as per law, how many properties can be declared to be self-occupied? Friends, maximum 2. Like for example, I am having 4 residential properties and all the 4 residential properties are vacant as on date. Can I declare them to be self-occupied? No. I can declare only 2 properties to be self-occupied. For other 2, friends, whatever is the fair rent which is going on prevailing in the market, I have to treat as rent. On the other 2 properties, whatever is the fair rent is prevailing, I have to offer tax on that particular fair rent. That means that they will be deemed to be let out. मान के चलेंगे कि वो प्रॉपर्टीज क्या हुई हैं, let out हुई है. Friends, let out हुई है तो fair rent will be treated as rent. Now in that case, municipal taxes will be allowed, 30% standard deduction will be allowed, and interest on borrowed capital to any extent will be allowed. तो मैक्सिमम कितनी प्रॉपर्टीज सेल्फ ऑक्यूपाइड में ट्रीट कर सकता हूं? 2. अगर मेरे पास 2 से ज्यादा है तो मैं ज्यादा को सेल्फ ऑक्यूपाइड डिक्लेयर नहीं कर सकता. आई कैन नॉट डिक्लेयर देम टू बी सेल्फ ऑक्यूपाइड. आई थिंक दिस पर्टिकुलर एस्पेक्ट इज क्लियर फ्रेंड्स, सेल्फ ऑक्यूपेंसी के रेस्पेक्ट में. नाउ इमेजिन अ सिचुएशन like for example, Mr. Pankaj is having 3 residential properties and all are self-occupied, actually self-occupied. अगर मिस्टर पंकज कोई भी टैक्स प्लानिंग नहीं करते हैं, टैक्स अवॉइडेंस नहीं करते हैं, तो व्हाट विल हैपन? 2 properties will be treated as self-occupied, 1 property will be treated as let out, और इसका जो भी फेयर रेंट होगा उसके बेसिस पे मुझे टैक्स पे करना पड़ेगा. बट एज ऑफ टैक्स पार्ट ऑफ टैक्स प्लानिंग और टैक्स अवॉइडेंस, मैं एक पर्टिकुलर प्रॉपर्टी एक गिफ्ट कर देता हूं मिसेस प्रियंका को. फ्रेंड्स, माय वाइफ, सॉरी, आई एम फॉरगॉट टू इंट्रोड्यूस। नहीं, आप समझो पता नहीं किसको गिफ्ट कर दिया, कौन है ये? फ्रेंड्स, मैंने एक प्रॉपर्टी मिसेस प्रियंका को गिफ्ट कर दी, तो आफ्टर द गिफ्ट विट विल बी द सिचुएशन? मिस्टर पंकज के पास कितनी प्रॉपर्टीज हैं? 2, सेल्फ ऑक्यूपाइड। प्रियंका के पास कितनी प्रॉपर्टी है? 1, और वो क्या है? सेल्फ ऑक्यूपाइड। अब मैं इमेजिन करता हूं कि सेक्शन 27 नहीं है, ओनली सेक्शन 64 इज देयर। सेक्शन 64 कहता है इनकम क्लब करना। And what do you mean by income club karna? That means first of all we have to compute income in the hands of the person who is the owner of that asset. और इनकम कंप्यूट करने के बाद, कंप्यूट करने का मतलब एज अप्लाइंग ऑल द इनकम टैक्स प्रोविजन, whatever the income is there after applying all the provisions of the law will be clubbed in the hands of the transfer. So if there is no section 27, only section 64 is there, फ्रेंड्स, उस केस में क्या होगा? यहां पर 2 सेल्फ ऑक्यूपाइड प्रॉपर्टी है, तो इनकी एनुअल वैल्यू कितनी होगी? निल। और यहां पर सेल्फ ऑक्यूपाइड प्रियंका के पास एक ही प्रॉपर्टी है, एंड दैट इज सेल्फ ऑक्यूपाइड। पहले मैं इनकम टैक्स लॉ के प्रोविजंस अप्लाई करूंगा, और फिर इनकम जो आएगी कैलकुलेट होने के बाद उसे क्लब करूंगा। तो यहां पर जब प्रियंका के पास सिंगल प्रॉपर्टी है, तो फ्रेंड्स दैट विल बी ट्रीटेड एज सेल्फ ऑक्यूपाइड एंड एनुअल वैल्यू विल बी निल। और जब निल को क्लब करोगे तो कितना क्लब होगा? निल। तो अल्टीमेटली मिस्टर पंकज के हाथ में इनकम कितनी आई? निल। नाउ गोइंग टुवर्ड्स द सेक्शन 27। सेक्शन 27 कहता है that Mr. Pankaj will be deemed to be the owner of this third property which is gifted to Mrs. Priyanka. मान के चलेंगे ओनर है, मान के चलेंगे क्या है? ओनर है। जब मान के चलेंगे ओनर है, तो कैलकुलेशन मैकेनिज्म इसके बाद अप्लाई होंगे, पहले नहीं होंगे। टेक्निकली दिस इज नॉट क्लबिंग ऑफ इनकम, दिस इज क्लबिंग ऑफ असेट। So technically, what is the law says that he will be deemed to be the owner. Now he is owner of 3 properties. When he is owner of 3 properties which are declared to be self-occupied, only 2 properties will be called self-occupied, and the third property will be treated as let out. I hope, friends, you are getting what is the reason behind that providing section 27 besides section 64 to cover up this particular situation. कि आप सेल्फ ऑक्यूपेंसी के कहीं बेनिफिट ना ले लो गलत तरीके से। Is that clear? First of all, Prasanna ji, I'm coming to your query. Is that clear why the section 27 is there besides section 64? Friends, दोनों चीज में डिफरेंस है। If you go by the income tax return forms, let me show you the income tax return forms. फ्रेंड्स, वहां पे आप कॉलम देखिएगा किस तरीके के कॉलम है। Let me show you the last year ITR forms. Friends, current year ITR forms, I need to install a software. Let's go for this one. Okay. Is it working? I do not think so that is going to work. I think I need to check out whether last year forms are working or not. Mhm. Okay, now this is working. Okay. Friends, this is schedule HP. Are you able to see, friends? Friends, it talks about state, country, pin code, owner of the property. There is a drop down menu. Are you not able to see this particular ITR utility I have opened for you? Mr. Ramesh is saying that he's not able to see this particular form. Okay, it may be the reason, friends, because font size is very less of this particular form utility released by the government. I don't know how to increase the size, visible size. Friends, in case of owner of the property, there is a drop down menu. सेल्फ की प्रॉपर्टी के ओनर आप खुद हो, माइनर है, स्पाउस है या अदर्स हैं. Like in case if a person gifts his property to the spouse, but by virtue of section 27 he is doomed to be the owner, then in that case the drop down menu spouse need to be selected and not self. So friends, even the lawmakers have provided this particular scenario in the form itself. Friends, anything you would like to ask in this particular aspect we have discussed? अब आगे चलते हैं, इसी का आगे देखते हैं प्रोविजन. तो ये तो हो गया स्पाउस के रेस्पेक्ट में. अब आता है सन्स वाइफ. Friends, by the word sons wife, I'm recalling a particular scenario in one of the batches of this tax guru only. क्या होता है whenever we talk speak in English और हिंदी और मिक्स, जनरली मिक्स बात कर रहे हैं जैसे हम यहाँ पर भी चल रहे हैं, तो क्या होता है हम कुछ पार्ट को हिंदी में कन्वर्ट कर देते हैं. तो आई सिंपली मेक प्रोनाउंसमेंट दैट कि अगर किसी पर्टिकुलर पर्सन ने अपने बेटे की वाइफ को असेट गिफ्ट कर दिया, तो मैंने वहां पे प्रोनाउंस किया किसी पर्सन ने अपने सन की वाइफ को असेट गिफ्ट कर दिया. Then I received a comment, said there is no requirement to provide for a prefix before wife. And it took me around 10 to 15 seconds what he wants to convey. Then I realized that I pronounce son ki wife. And he's talking about my verbal pronunciation, that is. He simply said that, sir, there is no requirement to provide for this particular prefix. There is no requirement. Coming back. And that happens when you mix two languages. So if a father-in-law or mother-in-law gifts any asset, including house property, to son's wife, that any income arising will be clubbed. Section 64. No section 27. Now, in case of assets are being gifted to son's wife, section 27 provisions are not there, only section 64. Now, what could be the reason behind that? Is there a tax planning possible in that case? The tax planning what we have discussed, whether a tax planning or avoidance, I'm not discussing that. Now, for example, father-in-law or mother-in-law are holding 3 self-occupied residential assets. They can gift 1 residential property to the son's wife. That is possible. I think in that case also the lawmakers have done this deliberately. Reason being, now friends, there are 2 families. And it may be possible that a separate property is required for the residence of son and son's wife. So in case son's wife is using that particular property for the self occupation, then there will be no clubbing in the hands of the father or mother-in-law. But in case son's wife earns income, then that will be clubbed. Now there is a presence of 2 families. It may be possible that because of some reasons they are supposed to live separate, at separate places or separate houses. So that is the difference between the clubbing in case of spouse and clubbing in case of son's wife. फ्रेंड्स एक पॉइंट और आता है आपका माइनर्स इनकम. Friends, all minors income are clubbed in the hands of parent. इसके लिए डिस्कस करते हैं फ्रेंड्स. व्हाट आर द डिफरेंसेस? देयर आर टू प्रोविजंस. वन इज अंडर सेक्शन 27, वन इज अंडर सेक्शन 64. If individual gifts house property to minor child, gifts house property to minor child, then individual deemed to be honor, except minor married daughter. In one case, there will be no clubbing at all, that is minor married daughter. Katiravanji, I'm coming to that only. If a person gifts a property to his or her son or daughter, then what will happen? Friends, if the daughter or son are major, then there is no clubbing at all. No clubbing. But if minor, section 27 or section 64 may apply. So section 27 says if an individual gifts a particular house property to the minor child, then individual shall be deemed to be the owner, except in case of minor married daughter. Section 64 says all incomes of minor clubbed in the hands of parent. Which parent? Having higher income. जिस parent की income ज्यादा है उसके हाथ में clubbing होगी, except in the case, friend, that minor is covered up by section 80U. 80U talks about disability. ATU talks about disability. If a particular minor is a disabled more than 40% or more than 80%, depends upon the disability nature and percentage. Either if it is 40% or more, that particular person is treated disabled under income tax law. So if the minor is disabled, then there will be no clubbing at all. In that case, minor is supposed to pay income tax. Now you will say that minor is supposed to pay income tax. This is wrong. He is disabled and still he is supposed to pay income tax. Friends, this is beneficial because minor will be able to get the slab rate benefits. In that case, even for minor, the slab rates of 2.5 lakh will apply. And that will reduce the tax liability of the overall family. So that is the beneficial from the tax perspective, that the minor income is taxable in the hands of the minor itself. Obviously, it will reduce the tax liability of the family. Now, friends, coming between the difference between these two, like for example, individual gifts a particular house property to the minor child, section 27 takes care of the same. But if it is gifted to minor married daughter, section 27 will not apply, but in that case, section 64 will apply. Because section 64 said all incomes of minor are need to be clubbed, whether minor is married or not does not make any difference. Now, why the lawmakers have provided such a provision? You are giving a particular exception in section 27, but you are covering up that particular exception in section 64. The very simple reason, if that minor married daughter is using that particular property for the self occupation, then there will be no clubbing at all because there is no income at all. It may be possible when daughter is married and minor, she requires a particular house property separately for self occupation. But If she is earning from that from particular property, then government says, sorry, we will not allow you this particular tax planning or avoidance at all. So again, that is the difference. When there are two separate families, the lawmakers have intended in the law that in that case, we will allow you more than two properties for the self-occupation in that case. That means two properties for self-occupation for every family, for every family. So friends, before going for any kind of tax planning vis-a-vis your spouse, vis-a-vis your minor child, please take care of these particular provisions in the law. And in case any income is clubbed as part of section 64, friends, then under section 32, exemption of rupees 1500 is provided in the law. That means the income club subject to maximum 1500 is exempt in the hands of the parent, but this is allowed only in case when you are following old tax regime. Under new tax regime, this 1500 exemption is not allowed. Friends, anything you would like to ask up to this particular stage? Mr. Katiravan, have you got answer to your query? Okay, thanks Katiravanji for the confirmation. So friends, at this particular stage, Ramesh ji, unki query simple यही थी कि if you gift a property to the son or daughter, then what will happen? So that we have discussed. If they are minor, then clubbing provisions are there. If they are major, there is no clubbing provision. Then they are separately taxable. So as soon as your child becomes major, you can gift any quantum of assets or money to your major child. There is no provision in the income tax law for the clubbing. At that time, that will be treated as tax planning. And you can take the benefit of slab rates if you want to. But please remember कि जैसे ही बच्चा मेजर हो, उसके हाथ में अगर इनकम जा रही है तो वो सिर्फ बुक्स में इनकम जाए, एक्चुअली कंट्रोल नहीं जाए. फ्रेंड्स, टू हैव अ लर्निंग कि उसको पैसों की कदर समझ में आए. देखिए, इजी मनी हाथ में आती है, वी नो कि देयर आर गुड चांसेस कि वो पर्टिकुलर पर्सन मेहनत नहीं करेगा लाइफ में. कंट्रोल रखिए पैसे पे, फिर आप गिफ्ट कीजिए, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. So friends, at this stage, we will go for a break of 15 minutes. And after that, we are going to discuss a very interesting aspect along with a particular judgment, and which is relevant for all type of assesses, specifically individuals. Friends, अब हाउस प्रॉपर्टी हेड में अब नाउ वी आर कंबाइनिंग टू पर्टिकुलर हेड्स. थोड़ा ध्यान से सुनना फ्रेंड्स, एक टेक्निकल है, बहुत अच्छा प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ एग्जांपल जजमेंट्स. अब यहाँ पे इनकम फ्रॉम हाउस प्रॉपर्टी, कैपिटल गेन्स, इन हेड्स को मिक्स करने वाले. नाउ व्हेन वी कैलकुलेट इनकम फ्रॉम हाउस प्रॉपर्टी, deduction of account of interest on borrowed capital is allowed. इसके भी दो पार्ट है. मान लो मैंने लोन लिया 1 जुलाई 2018 को, कंस्ट्रक्शन कंप्लीट हुई 1 नवंबर 2021 को. पॉसिबल है? 1 जुलाई 18, 1 नवंबर 21, that is possible. Now, when this particular property come into existence in financial year 21-22, उससे पहले तो प्रॉपर्टी थी नहीं, दैट वाज अंडर कंस्ट्रक्शन, दैट वाज अ लैंड. तो दिस इज द फर्स्ट फाइनेंशियल ईयर इन विच प्रॉपर्टी इज अंडर एक्सचेंज, और इस पे रेंट आता है, मैं अज्यूम कर लेता हूं रेंट आई गोट फॉर 5 months. ठीक है जी, बाकी सारी कैलकुलेशन होगी. अब इसमें से इंटरेस्ट की डिडक्शन मिलनी है. फाइनेंशियल ईयर 18-19 9 मंथ्स का इंटरेस्ट है, 19-20 12 मंथ्स का इंटरेस्ट है, 20-21 12 मंथ्स का इंटरेस्ट है। और 21-22 की बात करूं तो यहां पर फ्रेंड्स 7 मंथ्स का इंटरेस्ट अलग और 5 मंथ्स का इंटरेस्ट अलग। वाई 7 और 5? 1 नवंबर कंस्ट्रक्शन कंप्लीट होने से पहले का इंटरेस्ट, कंस्ट्रक्शन कंप्लीट होने के बाद का इंटरेस्ट। Will I get any deduction on account of interest in financial year 18-19, 19-20 or 20-21? No, I'm not going to get any deduction under a house property. Reason being property was not there in existence. No income is being offered to tax. तो कोई deduction नहीं मिलेगी। Coming to 21-22 and financial year 22-23, यहाँ पे इंटरेस्ट कितने महीने का होगा? 12 मंथ्स का। नाउ लॉ सेज कि आपको जो इंटरेस्ट की डिडक्शन मिलेगी, जो इंटरेस्ट की डिडक्शन, यू विल गेट द इंटरेस्ट डिडक्शन, दैट विल बी द करंट ईयर इंटरेस्ट। करंट ईयर का मतलब जिस फाइनेंशियल ईयर की आप इनकम कंप्यूट कर रहे हो, उस फाइनेंशियल ईयर का जो इंटरेस्ट है दैट विल अलाउड एज डिडक्शन, प्लस 1/5 ऑफ प्री कंस्ट्रक्शन इंटरेस्ट। जो कंस्ट्रक्शन कंप्लीट होने से पहले का इंटरेस्ट है उसका बेनिफिट भी मिलेगा, बट दैट विल बी बेनिफिट अवेलेबल ओवर द 5 इयर्स इन 5 इक्वल इंस्टॉलमेंट्स। तो जो कंस्ट्रक्शन कंप्लीट होने से पहले का इंटरेस्ट है वो इंटरेस्ट भी आपको फ्यूचर ईयर्स में मिलेगा ओवर द 5 इयर्स, दैट इज 1/5 ऑफ प्री कंस्ट्रक्शन इंटरेस्ट। तो दिस इज द टोटल डिडक्शन अलाउड अंडर सेक्शन 24 इन रेस्पेक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट ऑन बोरोड कैपिटल। Now, what is this pre-construction interest? Friends, as per law, pre-construction interest is calculated up to the end of the previous year, preceding the previous year in which construction was completed. In other words, जिस साल कंस्ट्रक्शन पूरा हुआ है, जिस साल, the year in which construction is completed, उसके पिछले साल तक का इंटरेस्ट अप टू द एंड ऑफ द प्रीसीडिंग प्रीवियस ईयर, उसके पिछले साल तक का इंटरेस्ट प्री कंस्ट्रक्शन कहलाएगा। तो इन दिस पर्टिकुलर एग्जांपल, इंटरेस्ट ऑफ द पीरियड 1st of July 18 to 31st of March 21 will be called pre-construction interest. Not up to 31st of October, but up to 31st of March. पिछले साल तक का इंटरेस्ट क्या कहलाएगा? प्री कंस्ट्रक्शन। जिस साल कंस्ट्रक्शन पूरा हुआ, द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ दैट फुल ईयर विल बी ट्रीटेड एज करंट ईयर इंटरेस्ट। तो जब आप फाइनेंशियल ईयर 21-22 की रेंट इनकम कंप्यूट करेंगे तो इसमें से आपको इंटरेस्ट की डिडक्शन मिलेगी होल 12 मंथ्स ऑफ फाइनेंशियल ईयर 21-22 प्लस 1/5 ऑफ this particular interest, that is up to 31st of March 20। जब आप 22-23 पे जाएंगे तो वहां पे 12 मंथ्स का इंटरेस्ट होगा फाइनेंशियल ईयर 22-23 का, प्लस 1/5 ऑफ प्री कंस्ट्रक्शन। कहने का मतलब ये प्री कंस्ट्रक्शन इंटरेस्ट आपको 5 साल में इक्वली बेनिफिट मिल जाएगा, बट यहां पर जो इंटरेस्ट कंप्यूट होगा दैट इज अप टू द प्रीसीडिंग प्रीवियस ईयर, up to the preceding previous year. I think I am clear with this particular aspect, friends. तो ये ध्यान रखना, under income tax law, when we talk about interest on borrowed capital for the purpose of had income from house property, they are not focusing upon interest calculation on day-to-day basis. वो कह रहे हैं पिछले साल का वहां तक का अलग कर दो, करंट ईयर का पूरा अलग कर दो, डे टू डे कैलकुलेशन करने की जरूरत नहीं। Now, for example, in financial year 23-24, the assessee prepay the loan on 1st of April 23 itself. Loan prepay कर देते हैं। Now then current year interest will be nil, क्योंकि जब लोन प्रीपे कर दिया तो एक भी रुपया नहीं है, प्लस 1/5 ऑफ प्री कंस्ट्रक्शन। ये फिर भी अलाउ होगा, इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। दो चीजों का टोटल इंटरेस्ट ऑन बोरोड कैपिटल होगा एंड दैट विल बी अलाउड अगेंस्ट योर रेंट इनकम। फ्रेंड्स इसमें कुछ पूछना चाहते हो तो पूछो, एनीथिंग वुड लाइक टू आस्क। फिर मैं आगे बढ़ूंगा, इसमें अब कैपिटल गेन्स हेड्स को मर्ज करूंगा और उसको हम कंबाइन एनालिसिस करेंगे। Any query, friends, up to this particular stage in this particular aspect? प्रसन्ना जी पूछ रहे हैं, अगर एसएससी पे करता है इंटरेस्ट 10 लाख रुपए का, प्रसन्ना जी वट एवर द क्वांटम ऑफ इंटरेस्ट इज देयर, दैट इज पार्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट ऑन बोरोड कैपिटल, दैट वी हैव डिस्कस्ड कि अगर लेट आउट प्रॉपर्टी है, द होल ऑफ द इंटरेस्ट ऑन बोरोड कैपिटल विल बी अलाउड। व्हाट इज इंटरेस्ट ऑन बोरोड कैपिटल? इज टोटल ऑफ 2, पूरा अलाउड है। सेल्फ ऑक्यूपाइड है, मैक्सिमम 2 लाख रुपीस इज अलाउड। तो पहले फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल यू हैव टू कैलकुलेट इंटरेस्ट ऑन बोरोड कैपिटल, total nikalo, that is current year plus 1/5 of pre-construction. Then that will be allowed is full in case of let out property, that will be restricted to 2 lakh in case of self occupied. रमेश जी सेल पे मैं अभी आता हूं, सेल आई एम गोइंग टू डिस्कस। इसमें सेल में चलो एक पॉइंट मैं आपको एड्रेस कर देता हूं। नाउ फॉर एग्जांपल इन फाइनेंशियल ईयर 24-25 असेसी सेल कर देता है प्रॉपर्टी को, देन व्हाट विल हैपन? प्रॉपर्टी बेच दी फ्रेंड्स 24-25 में, मान लो बेची प्रॉपर्टी 1 मई 24 को, तो एक महीने का रेंट तो मिलेगा, इसके अगेंस्ट वो इंटरेस्ट ऑन बोरोड कैपिटल क्लेम कर सकते, कैन बी क्लेम्ड। एंड अगेन इट इज टोटल ऑफ 2 करंट ईयर प्लस 1/5 ऑफ प्री कंस्ट्रक्शन, दैट इज अलाउड, उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। बट करंट ईयर इंटरेस्ट जो मिलेगा, करंट ईयर इंटरेस्ट, दैट विल बी अलाउड ऑफ 1 मंथ ओनली। प्री कंस्ट्रक्शन 1/5 पूरा मिल जाएगा, लॉ में कोई रेस्ट्रिक्शन नहीं है। बट इफ आई टॉक अबाउट फाइनेंशियल ईयर 25-26, नो इंटरेस्ट अलाउड। फ्रेंड्स कोई भी इंटरेस्ट अलाउ नहीं होगा, रीजन बीइंग देयर इज नो मोर प्रॉपर्टी। व्हेन देयर इज नो प्रॉपर्टी यू कैन नॉट अप्लाई कैलकुलेशन मैकेनिज्म एट ऑल। उस केस में प्री कंस्ट्रक्शन इंटरेस्ट का जो पोर्शन रह गया, दैट इज ए डेड लॉस, यू कैन नॉट क्लेम दैट एज एन एक्सपेंस एट ऑल। So if you sell out your property within 5 years, then friends, there could be a loss of claim of pre-construction interest that you have to take care. Now, Mr. Katiravan is asking, what could be the period of pre-construction period? Like in our example, the pre-construction period is of 2 years and 9 months. Could it be more than 5 years? Yes. In case of let out property, pre-construction period could be of n number of years, और जो इंटरेस्ट होगा of these n number of years will be called pre-construction interest. No issues. But in case of self-occupied property, if the date of borrowing not the date of borrowing, year of borrowing plus 5 years, इसमें कंस्ट्रक्शन कंप्लीट हो जाना चाहिए to get deduction of 2 lakh. Mr. Prasanna, I got Mr. Kadrivan, I got the point. What you want to ask, in case of self-occupied property, if you take more than 5 years in construction of the property, then 2 lakh deduction is not allowed in case of self-occupied. In that case, it will be restricted to 30,000. And that is a quite good period if I talk about in the year in which you have taken the loan plus 5 years. Friends, approximate you can get 6 years if you go for the proper tax planning. Always go for the housing loan. In case if you feel that more than 5 years could be there, always try to have the loan in the month of the April or May. In that case, you are getting approximate 6 years to complete your construction. So if construction is completed within 5 years, then deduction is restricted to 2 lakh. If you take that completion period for more than 5 years, then restriction is restricted to 30,000. Prasanna ji, that what we are discussing, that interest on borrowed capital is adjusted against rent as an expense. That is a part of computation mechanism of income from house property. What do you want to ask, Mr. Ramesh? Middle of above transaction, I'm not able to get. Okay, you have understood, no issues. The interest, can it be allowed 1/5? कातिरवन जी, दैट वी हैव डिस्कस, अगर आपने प्रॉपर्टी बेच दी तो जिस साल बेची है उस साल तो आपको इंटरेस्ट का बेनिफिट मिल जाएगा, बट फ्रॉम द नेक्स्ट ईयर ऑनवर्ड्स यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू क्लेम दैट प्री कंस्ट्रक्शन इंटरेस्ट एट ऑल. द प्रॉपर्टी मस्ट बी इन एग्जिस्टेंस फॉर यू टू क्लेम इंटरेस्ट ऑन बोरोड कैपिटल. Is it clear, friends? Any other query? Okay, let's move towards capital gains. A brief introduction, then we'll go for the technical. Friends, under capital gain heads, capital gains head, what is the calculation mechanism? Sale consideration, that is called technically full value of consideration. Technically, the word used by the income tax law. कितने रुपए में आपने प्रॉपर्टी बेची, लेस एक्सपेंडिचर incurred in connection with transfer. आपने बेचने के लिए अगर कोई खर्चा इंकर किया, that you can claim as deduction. Best example, brokerage. This is called net consideration. Less cost of acquisition. And then less cost of improvement. This is called capital gain. That is a basic calculation. Agar long term hoga, so these costs will be indexed. That is a separate part. The basic calculation mechanism kya hai? Full value of consideration, less expenditure incurred in connection with transfer, less cost of acquisition, less cost of improvement. Difference is called capital gains. Now my question from you all is, what do you mean by the word improvement? Any example you can share with me? Specifically in case of immobile property, क्या है improvement? रमेश जी कह रहे हैं प्राइस हाइक, नहीं, that is the appreciation in the price. Okay, Mr. Kumar is saying fencing of the land. Okay, that is an improvement. Friends, if I talk about income tax law, it does not define improvement in technical sense. But from the judgments, from various aspects or practical life, we can try to define what do you mean by the word improvement. In my view, the improvement includes two types of things. Any expense which led to increase in efficiency or utilization of the asset. ऐसा कोई खर्चा जिससे उस असेट का एफिशिएंसी या यूटिलाइजेशन बढ़ रहा है, यूटिलाइजेशन बढ़ रहा है. लाइक इन टर्म्स ऑफ कंप्यूटर, इफ आई टॉक अबाउट, मैं अगर एक डेस्कटॉप के अंदर मदरबोर्ड बदलता हूं, मेरे पास इंटेल i3 फर्स्ट जनरेशन है, मैं उसको रिप्लेस करता हूं विद इंटेल i7 11th जनरेशन, आई थिंक दैट इज अ कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट. फ्रेंड्स, आर यू गेटिंग माय वॉइस? Okay, thanks, Katiravan ji. Sorry, thanks, Mr. Kumar. Thanks, Rajiv. Mr. Katiravan, please check at your end. everyone else getting my sweet voice. You may restart your system. So friends, coming back, so any expenditure which led to increase in efficiency or utilization of the particular asset could be termed as the improvement. या दूसरा, any expense which makes my title better. मेरा उस प्रॉपर्टी पे बेटर टाइटल क्रिएट हो रहा है. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल, आई एम हैविंग अ लीजहोल्ड लैंड since last 20 years. Now there is a scheme of the government that I can get it converted into freehold. उस फ्री होल्ड के मैं चार्जेस पे कर रहा हूँ. फ्रेंड्स, मेरा टाइटल बेटर हो रहा है. पहले मेरा टाइटल 99 इयर्स का था. नाउ माय टाइटल इज फॉर एवर. दैट इज द बेटरमेंट ऑफ टाइटल. So I think that could also be treated as cost of improvement. Cost of acquisition we all know. जो भी खर्चा मैंने एक्वायर किया है टू ब्रिंग दैट पर्टिकुलर असेट इनटू एग्जिस्टेंस टू द दिस पर्टिकुलर स्टेज इज नथिंग बट कॉस्ट ऑफ. यहां तक क्लियर है फ्रेंड्स? अब आओ मेरा टेक्निकल सवाल. इंटरेस्ट ऑन बोरोड कैपिटल टू एक्वायर हाउस. इसके भी फ्रेंड्स दो पार्ट है, ध्यान से देखना. मैंने लोन लिया 1 जुलाई 18 को. कंस्ट्रक्शन कंप्लीट हुई 1 नवंबर 21 और इस लोन की रीपेमेंट चलती है कब तक? 30 सितंबर 2029 तक. फुल एंड फाइन पॉसिबल है. नाउ इन फाइनेंशियल ईयर 2030-31 I am selling this property. I am selling this particular property. Possible? Now the question arises whether this particular interest on borrowed capital will be treated as part of cost of acquisition or improvement while computing capital gains on sale of this property. फ्रेंड्स, इस लोन के इंटरेस्ट के भी दो पार्ट हैं, इवन तीन पार्ट बोलूंगा मैं. इस लोन का इंटरेस्ट एक तो पीरियड है आपका 1 जुलाई 18 से 31 मार्च 21. फिर दूसरा है 1 अप्रैल 21 से 31 अक्टूबर 21. और तीसरा है 1 नवंबर 21 से 30 सितंबर 2029. फ्रेंड्स, जब मैं अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसीज की बात करता हूं, नॉर्मल जो अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं, अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसीज हैं, उसके हिसाब से ये इंटरेस्ट कैपिटलाइज होता है. ये इंटरेस्ट क्या होता है? कैपिटलाइज. नॉर्मल अकाउंट्स जो हम पढ़ते हैं कि आपने असेट को एक्सचेंज में लाने के लिए जो भी खर्चा किया, दैट विल बिकम पार्ट ऑफ द कॉस्ट ऑफ असेट. और फ्रेंड्स, दिस इज नथिंग बट पार्ट ऑफ कॉस्ट ऑफ असेट. जो भी आप इंटरेस्ट एक्सपेंस इंकर करते हैं अप टू द डेट ऑफ कंप्लीशन ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्शन, दैट इज एस्टैब्लिश्ड प्रिंसिपल ऑफ द अकाउंट्स. तो ये इंटरेस्ट क्या होता है? कैपिटलाइज. और ये इंटरेस्ट ईयर टू ईयर बेसिस पे. फ्रेंड्स, अकाउंट्स की बात तब होगी व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट बिजनेस. ईयर टू ईयर बेसिस पे इसे क्या माना गया है? रेवेन्यू नेचर एक्सपेंस. ये मैं तब बात कर रहा हूं व्हेन यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट अकाउंट्स. और व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट अकाउंट्स, दैट मींस यू आर कैरिंग ऑन अ पर्टिकुलर बिजनेस. बिजनेस के पर्पस से अगर आपने कोई इमल प्रॉपर्टी कंस्ट्रक्ट करवा रहे हो, तो उसका जब तक कंस्ट्रक्शन कंप्लीट होगा वहां तक का इंटरेस्ट कैपिटलाइज होगा और बाकी इंटरेस्ट क्या माना जाएगा? रेवेन्यू नेचर एक्सपेंस. इस पे आप डेप्रिसिएशन क्लेम कर सकते हो इफ यू आर यूजिंग द प्रॉपर्टी फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ बिजनेस. बट ये तो ट्रीटमेंट है बिजनेस हेड में, सवाल है कैपिटल गेन्स हेड का। फ्रेंड्स, व्हेन वी आई एम हैविंग इनकम अंडर हेड सैलरी, हाउस प्रॉपर्टी, कैपिटल गेन, अदर सोर्सेज, आई डू नॉट हैव एनी इनकम अंडर बिजनेस हेड। आई एम सपोज टू मेंटेन एनी काइंड ऑफ बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स। Do I have to follow any kind of accounting policies or accounting standards? No. There is no requirement under any law कि मैं कोई accounting standards follow करूं, मैं accounting policies follow करूं, nothing. अब मैं जब प्रॉपर्टी बेचने जा रहा हूं तो मैं क्या देखूंगा? इनकम टैक्स लॉ देखूंगा। What I'm going to see? That is income tax law. अब जब मैं कैपिटल गेन्स हेड में जाता हूं तो वो कहता है कि दो चीजें आप लेस कर लेना, कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन एंड कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट। सवाल ये है कि क्या ये इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट का पार्ट बनेगा? चलो कॉस्ट का पार्ट मैं एक बार के लिए मानता हूं कि बन सकता है। अगर बन सकता है तो क्या ये इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट का पार्ट बन सकता है? भैया मैं दोनों की डेफिनेशन ही देखूंगा ना, क्या इज दैट कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट, इज दैट इंप्रूवमेंट? नो फ्रेंड, दिस इज नॉट इंप्रूवमेंट। व्हेन आई हैव टेकन अ लोन एंड आई एम यूजिंग फॉर द कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ द प्रॉपर्टी, देयर इज नो इंक्रीज इन एफिशिएंसी और यूटिलाइजेशन ऑफ द असेट। उस इंटरेस्ट पोर्शन के कारण किसी भी प्रकार से कोई एफिशिएंसी या यूटिलाइजेशन बढ़ नहीं रहा। व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट इंप्रूवमेंट, इंप्रूवमेंट का मतलब वो असेट ऑलरेडी एक्सचेंज में था और उसके रेफरेंस में आप कुछ नया कर रहे हो। यहां तो फ्रेश असेट कंस्ट्रक्ट हो रहा है। तो इट इज वेरी क्लियर, दिस इज नॉट कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट। ठीक है जी, कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट नहीं है। आते हैं फ्रेंड, दिस इज द सेक्शन इन रेस्पेक्ट ऑफ विच दैट कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट एंड कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन कुछ उसके बारे में लॉ में बताया हुआ है। फ्रेंड सेक्शन 55 मीनिंग ऑफ एडजस्टेड कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट, कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन, अगर आप इसकी डेफिनेशंस देखेंगे तो फ्रेंड्स यहां पर इन्होंने टेक्निकली डिफाइन नहीं किया। यहां पर इन्होंने कुछ सिचुएशंस प्रोवाइड करी वेयर व्हाट विल बी द कॉस्ट एंड व्हाट विल बी द कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन एंड इंप्रूवमेंट। सिचुएशंस क्या दी कि इन पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन में एक पर्टिकुलर असेट की कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन या कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट क्या होगी। लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर मैं जाता हूं सबसेक्शन 2, फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ सेक्शन 48 एंड 49, कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन, क्या कहा? गुडविल वगैरह के केस में अगर आपने परचेज किया है तो परचेज प्राइस, और अगर अदरवाइज उसकी क्या होगी? निल। अगर सेल्फ जनरेटेड गुडविल है तो उसकी कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन क्या होगी? निल। तो फ्रेंड्स अगर कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन के केस में देखिए तो उन्होंने कोई डेफिनेशन नहीं दी, कहा कि पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन में कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन क्या होगी। देयर इज नो जनरल डेफिनेशन एट ऑल। सिमिलरली इफ आई टॉक अबाउट कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट, तो यहां पर भी स्पेसिफिक सिचुएशंस की बात हो रही है, जनरल डेफिनेशन नहीं दी। बट यहां पर देखो आगे क्या लिखा, देखो, मींस ऑल एक्सपेंडिचर ऑफ अ कैपिटल नेचर, डे टू डे रिपेयर नहीं होनी चाहिए, incurred in making any additions or alteration to the capital asset। आपने कैपिटल एसेट में कोई एडिशन करी या अल्टरेशन करी बाय द असेसी आफ्टर इट बिकेम हिज प्रॉपर्टी, आपकी प्रॉपर्टी बनने के बाद, तो उसमें अगर कोई एडिशन या अल्टरेशन करते हैं दैट विल बी कॉल्ड कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट, बट डज नॉट इंक्लूड any expenditure which is deductible in computing the income chargeable under the head income from house property, PGBP or other source। बट ऐसा कोई एक्सपेंडिचर जिसकी डिडक्शन आपको किसी और हेड में मिल रही है, then that expenditure will not be treated as part of cost of improvement। तो इसका मतलब कोई खर्चा अगर मुझे हाउस प्रॉपर्टी हेड में अलाउ हो रहा है, बिजनेस हेड में अलाउ हो रहा है, अदर सोर्सेज हेड में अलाउ हो रहा है, तो वो कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट का पार्ट नहीं बनेगा। नाउ व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट इंटरेस्ट ऑन बोरोड कैपिटल, क्या मुझे उसकी डिडक्शन मिल रही है किसी और हेड में? यस, इनकम फ्रॉम हाउस प्रॉपर्टी मिल रही है। इसका मतलब अगर मैं ये डिबेट करूं भी कि वो कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट है तो भी उसका बेनिफिट नहीं मिलेगा, क्योंकि यहां पर एक पैराग्राफ डाल दिया जिसके बेसिस पे लिखा कि अगर किसी और हेड में खर्चा मिल रहा है तो उस खर्चे का बेनिफिट आपको कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट के रूप में कैपिटल हेड में नहीं मिलेगा। तो मैं कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट को तो सोचूंगा ही नहीं। नाउ द क्वेश्चन अराइजेस, whether this interest on borrowed capital could be termed as part of cost of acquisition. फ्रेंड्स, जब हम सबसेक्शन 2 पढ़ते हैं कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन, तो वहां पर ये मिलते जुलते वर्ड्स नहीं लिखे हुए, नॉट एट ऑल रिटन हियर. दैट मींस कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन के केस में ये रेस्ट्रिक्शन तो नहीं है कि अगर किसी और हेड में खर्चे का बेनिफिट मिल रहा है तो वो फिर कैपिटल हेड में कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन के रूप में बेनिफिट नहीं मिलेगा. So that is very simple question whether it could be termed as cost of acquisition. फ्रेंड्स, कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन को जब डिफाइन नहीं किया तो क्या मतलब है कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन का? फ्रेंड्स, कोर्ट्स के सामने ये एक्सप्लेन किया गया, द कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन मींस that because of acquisition, if there is a outflow of funds, that is a cost of acquisition. Does it matter when the funds outflow will be there, either at the time of acquisition or before the acquisition or after the acquisition? If it is because of acquisition, acquisition के कारण अगर funds का outflow है, that is part of cost. Fund flow may be in the future, maybe in the past, or maybe at the time of acquisition. It is not necessary कि वो कितना फंड फ्लो होगा वो एक्विजिशन की डेट पे पता हो. हाँ, वो लाइबिलिटी क्रिएट हो गई, क्वांटिफिकेशन नहीं हुआ कि हाँ एक्विजिशन के कारण मुझे ये पेमेंट करनी पड़ेगी. कितनी डज नॉट मैटर. इफ इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ एक्विजिशन, इट बिकम्स पार्ट ऑफ कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन. एंड फ्रेंड्स, सिमिलर एस्पेक्ट वाज हेल्ड in the case of multiple of judgments, in which I'm sharing with you a particular judgment, CIT versus K. Raja Gopala Rao. Friend, this is the Madras High Court, one of the landmark judgment if I talk about of 2001. And similar same aspects were discussed in this particular case, and Madras High Court agreed with the view of the assessee कि एक्विजिशन का मतलब ऐसी कोई भी चीज, कॉस्ट का मतलब ऐसी कोई भी चीज दैट इज आउटफ्लो बिकॉज ऑफ योर एक्विजिशन, बिकॉज ऑफ योर एक्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन. So friends, even if I go by this particular judgment and also the my same view and also by the language of the law, friends, ये तीनों interest becomes part of cost of acquisition. किसका part है? Acquisition. Although you are getting benefit of this interest and this interest as part of income from a house property, still the same is allowed as part of cost of acquisition. Allowed है. अब आपका सवाल आ सकता है, so this will lead to double deduction. For the same outflow of funds, for the same expenditure, I am getting double benefit. Yes. Friends, whenever the lawmakers intend to deny or control the double benefit, they have provided in the law itself. And like, for example, we have discussed the definition of cost of improvement. So we can interpret other way around. If something is not barred specifically, then you can go for that. Friends, all the heads are independent of each other. They are not linked to each other at all. एक हेड कुछ कह रहा है, दूसरा हेड कुछ कह रहा है, मैं इंडिविजुअली मैं वो कंडीशंस फुलफिल कर रहा हूं. देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम इन दैट. Friends, it generally happens that we book a flat with a particular township with the builder. It took 3 to 4 years in the completion or construction. We generally go for borrowed funds. Friends, वो borrowed funds का interest आपको as income from house property deduction भी allowed है. Plus आप उसका details maintain करें, कागज maintain करें. Whenever you are going to sell that particular property, you can claim that particular interest as part of cost of acquisition also. No doubt in that as on date. Friends, plethora of judgments are there. ये समझ में आया फ्रेंड्स? ये बताओ मेरे को. Anything you would like to ask? Let me share the today's file with you, friends. This is the judgment I'm sharing with you, CIT versus Raja Gopala Rao. That's what I'm discussing, Mr. Prasanna. That even if you have claimed this interest as deduction under income from house property, still you can claim this particular interest as part of cost of acquisition at the time of the sale of property. Double deduction is allowed. अच्छा, इसी को मैं और स्ट्रेंथन करता हूं by one particular aspect. In house property had you received 30% deduction. Can you tell me why the government have provided this 30% deduction? Straightforward. Whether you have incurred any expense or not, 30% deduction is allowed. What could be the reason behind that? अगर मेरा लेटिंग आउट का बिजनेस है, मेरा बिजनेस इस चीज का है कि मैं प्रॉपर्टीज किराए पे देता हूं, एंड आई एम अज्यूमिंग विदाउट एनी डिबेट कि मेरा लेटिंग आउट का बिजनेस है विच इज असेसेबल टैक्सेबल अंडर हेड बिजनेस है, तो क्या उस केस में 30% डिडक्शन मिलेगी? नहीं। अगर बिजनेस हेड में रेंट टैक्सेबल है तो उस प्रॉपर्टी से रिलेटेड जितने भी खर्चे हैं वो खर्चे एज एन एक्सपेंस अलाउ। दैट एक्सपेंसेस में इंक्लूड इंश्योरेंस, रिपेयर एंड मेंटेनेंस, डेप्रिसिएशन। But under a house property, you are not supposed to claim depreciation, any maintenance expense at all. Government ने आपको कहा कि हमें debates नहीं चाहिए, we are giving you the benefit of 30%. That's all. Now the question arises: is there any depreciation of the building? Yes, friends, depreciation is there, which is directly or indirectly covered up by section 24, 30% deduction. Directly or indirectly उसमें cover up है. But when you're going to sell out your property, do you reduce your cost by the quantum of depreciation? No, you claim the full cost. Now indirectly you are getting double benefit. उधर 30% deduction मिला because of wear and tear, and फिर भी आप पूरी cost claim करते when you sell out the property. The same logic. So friends, when law does not expressly bar any kind of double deduction, you can claim, provided you are fulfilling all other provisions of the law. Now, in that case, I am able to fulfill that this is nothing but part of cost of acquisition. That is nothing but part of cost of acquisition. Friends, anything you would like to ask up to this particular stage? Friends, कुछ मजा आया? Do you find it to be interesting? Friends, this is what is the law, in my opinion. और जब तक हम इस लेवल पे फ्रेंड्स लॉ को नहीं पढ़ेंगे, we cannot practice that. फ्रेंड बेसिक लॉ क्या कहता है? ठीक है जी, ऐसे कैलकुलेशन करनी है, दैट्स ऑल. दैट एवरीवन नोज. दैट एवरीवन नोज. देन व्हाट इज द यूज? कोई फायदा नहीं है उसका. तो अगर हमें लॉ सीखना है, अप्लाई करना है, यूज करना है, तो फ्रेंड्स इस तरीके से हमें एक सिचुएशन को देखना पड़ेगा. मैं ये नहीं कहता कि इंटरप्रिटेशन करो, पहले सिचुएशन कि जो हाउस प्रॉपर्टी हेड में इंटरेस्ट है, कैन आई क्लेम एज अ पार्ट ऑफ द कॉस्ट? दैट क्वेश्चन शुड अराइज इन योर माइंड. उसके बाद आप प्रोविजंस देख के एक व्यू डेवलप कर सकते हो. फ्रेंड्स, एज अ पार्ट ऑफ द सर्टिफिकेशन कोर्स, मैं किस तरीके से जजमेंट्स का डाटाबेस मेंटेन करता हूं, आई एम गोइंग टू शेयर विद यू दैट, नॉट द होल डाटाबेस, अ सैंपल ऑफ दैट, कि मेरा तरीका क्या है, कि कल को मुझे डाटाबेस से अगर जजमेंट ढूंढना पड़े तो मैं क्या इजीली ढूंढ सकता हूं, नहीं ढूंढ सकता. दैट वी आर गोइंग टू शेयर. कुछ एक आदि मैं अपने ऑर्डर्स भी आपके साथ शेयर करूंगा जो मैंने एसएससी के बिहाफ पे रिप्रेजेंट करे, ट्रिब्यूनल जजमेंट, बिकॉज दैट इज इन पब्लिक रिकॉर्ड, आई कैन शेयर नो इश्यूज इन दैट, but not the CITP's judgment or assessing officer order. Reason because they are not the part of public documents. Can we proceed with friends? A small topic for today. हाँ जी दोस्तों, Still we are left with 15 minutes. I think we can discuss that particular small topic in respect of life insurance premiums. Thank you, Katiravanji, for providing me the appreciation and confirmation. So friends, life insurance premium. Ayushi, that we have discussed, she's asking regarding that interest. This post acquisition is also part of cost of acquisition. All three: 1st of July 18 to 31st March, 1st April to 31st of October, 1st of November to 30th of September. All three are part of cost of acquisition. Okay, no issues. It happens sometime. Friends, can you tell me the relevant provisions? Any one of you? Basic provisions, life insurance premiums related income tax law में क्या provide for किया हुआ है? कुछ भी जो आपको पता है, एक्सेप्ट दैट थिंग कि लाइफ इंश्योरेंस एजेंट आपके सामने आपको आपके मरने के फायदे बताता है, और जिसके नाम से इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी लेनी है इंश्योर्ड, उससे ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट उसके क्या कहते हैं लीगल हेयर्स को होता है कि हाँ जी इनके मरने पे हमें क्या मिलेगा ये बताओ। मतलब खतरनाक सा कंसेप्ट है एजेंट के द्वारा लाइफ इंश्योरेंस की स्कीम को एक्सप्लेन करना, फायदे बताना। ओके, आई एम गेटिंग द आंसर्स। 80C में डिडक्शन मिलती है, पैसा जब मिलता है एग्जेम्प्ट होता है। ओके फ्रेंड्स, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल 80C डिडक्शन, प्रीमियम किसका पे किया हो? सेल्फ, स्पाउस और एनी चाइल्ड। फ्रेंड्स यहाँ पे एनी से मतलब है मेरा मेजर, माइनर, डिपेंडेंट, इंडिपेंडेंट, मैरिड, अनमैरिड, कोई भी। अगर मैं अपने बच्चों का प्रीमियम पे कर रहा हूं, आई एम एलिजिबल फॉर 80C डिडक्शन। 80C ओवरऑल वी नो 1.5 लाख। देन फ्रेंड्स देयर इज ए कैप आल्सो, कि आप जो प्रीमियम पे कर रहे हो डिडक्शन विल बी रेस्ट्रिक्टेड टू 10% ऑफ सम एश्योर्ड। उसके आगे भी मिनिमम वर्ड लगा देता हूं कि डेथ होने पे कम से कम कितना रुपया मिलेगा। अगर प्रीमियम उसके 10% से ज्यादा है देन डिडक्शन इज अलाउड अप टू 10%। नाउ फॉर एग्जांपल मिनिमम सम एश्योर्ड is 12 lakh rupees. Premium you are paying 1,40,000. फ्रेंड्स 80C में डिडक्शन के लिए कितना काउंट होगा? 120। मान लो मिनिमम सम एश्योर्ड 3 लाख, प्रीमियम 1,90,000। फ्रेंड्स 80C के पर्पस से कितना काउंट होगा? 3 लाख का 10%, 30,000। इसको और बढ़ा लो, 3.6 लाख कर, सॉरी सॉरी दिस इज 30 लाख, दिस इज 3.6 लाख। मिनिमम सम एश्योर्ड 30 लाख, प्रीमियम कितना? 3.6 लाख। 80C के पर्पस से एलिजिबल प्रीमियम कितना होगा? 3 लाख। मगर अल्टीमेटली डिडक्शन कितनी मिलेगी? 1.5 लाख, क्योंकि ओवरऑल 80C की रेस्ट्रिक्शन 1.5 लाख। So if you are making premium payment more than 10% of the minimum sum assured, access is not allowed as deduction under section 80C. Please remember this. Friends, इसमें भी चेंज किया था। अगर पॉलिसी इशू हुई है ऑन और बिफोर 31st ऑफ मार्च 12, तो इन पॉलिसीज के लिए इवन टुडे restriction is 20%. If policy was issued after 31st of March 12, then रेस्ट्रिक्शन इज 10%। पहले 20% का प्रोविजन था, तो पुरानी पॉलिसीज पे आज भी 20% का बेनिफिट अलाउड है, नई पॉलिसीज पे 10% की रेस्ट्रिक्शन लगाई। फर्दर फ्रेंड्स, 80C इज ऑन पेड बेसिस। पेड बेसिस मींस, मान लो सम एश्योर्ड है 7 लाख, प्रीमियम पर एनम 50,000। नाउ किसी कारण से मैंने फाइनेंशियल ईयर 21-22 प्लस फाइनेंशियल ईयर 22-23 का प्रीमियम पे करा इन फाइनेंशियल ईयर 22-23। कितना पे करा? 50,000 प्लस 50,000 इज इक्वल टू 1 लाख। अब इस केस में क्या होगा फ्रेंड्स? इन फाइनेंशियल ईयर 21-22 देयर विल बी नो डिडक्शन because no premium was paid. This deduction is on paid basis. In 22-23, 80C deduction is allowed, but maximum 10% of 7 lakh, that is 70,000. अगर आप 2 साल का प्रीमियम एक साथ पे करते हैं तो इट मे बी पॉसिबल दैट यू डू नॉट गेट द बेनिफिट ऑफ 80C डिडक्शन बिकॉज ऑफ कैप ऑफ 20%। तो ये ध्यान रखना फ्रेंड्स, 80C इज ऑन पेड बेसिस। तो एक पर्टिकुलर ईयर में एक पॉलिसी के रेस्पेक्ट में अगर उसके मिनिमम सम एश्योर्ड से 10% से ज्यादा प्रीमियम पे करते हैं तो एक्सेस इज नॉट अलाउड ए डिडक्शन अंडर सेक्शन 80C। इज दैट क्लियर फ्रेंड्स? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल 80C, और ध्यान रखना फ्रेंड्स, 80C डिडक्शंस आर अलाउड ओनली इन केस इफ यू आर फॉलोइंग द ओल्ड टैक्स रिजीम। न्यू टैक्स रिजीम में 80C की डिडक्शंस अलाउड नहीं है। कैन आई प्रोसीड विद फ्रेंड्स? नाउ कमिंग टू द मैच्योरिटी बेनिफिट्स। फ्रेंड्स, लाइफ इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी के कारण जब पैसा रिटर्न मिलता है दैट कुड बी ऑफ ऑन अकाउंट टू अकाउंट्स। पहला, इंश्योर्ड मैच्योर हो गया, दैट इज नथिंग बट डेथ। और दूसरा है पॉलिसी मैच्योर हो गई, दैट मींस पॉलिसी 20 इयर्स की थी और 20 इयर्स क्या हो गए? कंप्लीट हो गए। पॉसिबल है? तो पॉलिसी मैच्योर हो गई या इंश्योर्ड मैच्योर हो गया। तो फ्रेंड्स, इन केस ऑफ डेथ, वट एवर द अमाउंट इज बीइंग रिसीव्ड बाय द लीगल हेयर्स और नॉमिनी इज फुल्ली एग्जेम्प्ट। क्या है? फुल्ली एग्जेम्प्ट, नो डिबेट। बट अगर पॉलिसी मैच्योर होती है एंड फॉर एनी प्रीवियस ईयर प्रीमियम पेबल, कैसे देखना? नॉट पेड, क्या लिखा है? पेबल, मोर देन 10% और 20% एज द केस में भी। पॉलिसी पुरानी है, 20% नहीं है तो 10%। देन ऑन मैच्योरिटी, अमाउंट रिसीव्ड माइनस प्रीमियम पेड इज टैक्सेबल। अगर किसी भी एक साल का प्रीमियम 10% या 20% ऑफ मिनिमम सम एश्योर्ड से ज्यादा था तो जितना भी पैसा मिलेगा माइनस जितना भी आपने प्रीमियम पे करा, डिफरेंस विल बी ट्रीटेड एज योर टैक्सेबल इनकम। अगर हर साल का प्रीमियम 10 या 20% से कम था तो वो क्या होगा? एग्जेम्प्ट। तो फ्रेंड्स, ऐसी कोई पॉलिसी जनरली मत लें, एडवाइजेबल नहीं है, जहां पर प्रीमियम पेबल एक पर्टिकुलर ईयर में, चाहे वो फर्स्ट ईयर है चाहे बीच का ईयर है, अगर वो मिनिमम सम एश्योर्ड के 10% या 20% से ज्यादा है। इज दैट क्लियर फ्रेंड्स? प्लीज टेक केयर ऑफ दिस। जनरली जो वन टाइम पॉलिसीज होती है जहां पे वन टाइम प्रीमियम देना होता है, इट मे बी पॉसिबल इन दोज केसेस आपका वो वन टाइम प्रीमियम मिनिमम सम एश्योर्ड के 10% से ज्यादा हो। तो उस केस में अगर पॉलिसी मैच्योर हो गई, उसका पीरियड ऑफ पॉलिसी पूरा हो गया और लमसम पैसे मिलते हैं तो दैट विल बिकम टैक्सेबल। फ्रेंड्स, जनरली जो इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च करती है उसमें वो इस चीज का ध्यान रखती हैं कि प्रीमियम 10% से ज्यादा नहीं हो। और फ्रेंड्स यहाँ पर पेबल बेसिस पे है कि पर एनम कितना पेबल था। आपने किसी कारण से 2 साल का प्रीमियम 1 साल में पे कर दिया, बट इंडिविजुअली वो 10% से कम है, बट क्यूमुलेटिवली 10% से ज्यादा है, तो आपका ये सेक्शन हिट नहीं होगा, आपके मैच्योरिटी बेनिफिट्स टैक्सेबल नहीं होंगे। दिस इज सेक्शन 10(10)(d). नाउ इज दैट क्लियर फ्रेंड्स, लाइफ इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसीज के रेस्पेक्ट में? एनीथिंग यू वुड लाइक टू आस्क? तो फ्रेंड्स जब भी लाइफ इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसीज पे जाएं, जनरली जहां पे फ्रेंड्स टर्म पॉलिसीज होती है, जहां पे सिर्फ डेथ के केस में बेनिफिट मिलता है, पॉलिसी मैच्योरिटी के केस में कुछ भी नहीं मिलता, वहां पे प्रीमियम बहुत ही कम होता है। इट इवन डज नॉट एक्सीड 2 or 3% ऑफ द सम एश्योर्ड। Like I am having a policy last 4 or 5 years in which sum assured is 2 CR and I am paying premium of approximate 26,000 rupees per annum, including GST. That is nothing. 2 करोड़ का अगर 1% भी निकालो तो 2 लाख रुपए होता है, and that is for 35 years. तो फ्रेंड्स टर्म पॉलिसीज में ये इश्यूज नहीं आते। जनरली जहां पर मैच्योरिटी बेनिफिट्स एक्सपेक्टेड होते हैं, वहां पर ये पॉसिबिलिटी आ सकती है दैट यू शुड टेक केयर ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर एस्पेक्ट व्हाइल अप्लाइंग फॉर अ पर्टिकुलर पॉलिसी। प्रसन्ना जी, आई नो दैट व्हाट आई हैव सेड कि जनरली जो इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज प्रोडक्ट्स लॉन्च करती हैं उसमें इस चीज का वो ध्यान रखते हैं, बट स्टिल देयर आर प्रोडक्ट्स इन विच प्रीमियम इज मोर देन 10% और 20%। है ऐसे प्रोडक्ट्स भी। तो जब आप वन टाइम प्रीमियम की पॉलिसी ले तो इस चीज को जरूर ध्यान रखें, वहां पर ये वायलेशन नहीं हो जाए। जनरली जहां पे आप हर साल प्रीमियम पे करते हैं तो वहां पे बहुत रेयरली ऐसा कोई प्रोडक्ट होगा जहां पे प्रीमियम मोर देन 10% होगा, बट वन टाइम प्रीमियम पॉलिसीज में हो सकता है वो 10% एक्सीड कर रहा हो। फ्रेंड्स एनी क्वेरी? Our next session is scheduled for next Saturday morning 8 o'clock, and the topics scheduled for that are okay, loan transactions, cash transaction, taxation of gifts. Okay, going to be very interesting. I think session 3 and 4 are going to be very interesting. Loan transactions, cash, okay, taxation of gifts. Then we are planning for succession planning, okay. 50C, 43CA, section 68 to 69D, 115BB. ठीक है फ्रेंड्स, धीरे धीरे हमारा लेवल बढ़ता जाएगा सेशंस का, टेक्निकलिटीज का, लॉ की अंडरस्टैंडिंग का। सेशन 5 and 6 नॉन रेजिडेंट टैक्सेशन, डबल टैक्सेशन अवॉइडेंस एग्रीमेंट्स, वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस इन डिटेल। फ्रेंड मुझे तो लग रहा है ये तो सेशंस खत्म होने वाले हैं, ऐसे फील आने लग गया जैसे, बताओ नेक्स्ट 3 and 4 करती तो ऐसे लगेगा ठीक है, इट्स गोइंग टू बी ओवर। हाँ जी फ्रेंड्स, एनी डाउट और क्वेरी? So friends, that's all for today and hope to see you on time on the next Saturday, 8 a.m. and try to be on time. And friends, most probably today I'm going to, not even today or maybe by tomorrow, I'm going to prepare a broadcast group over the WhatsApp and we'll share these documents by WhatsApp also. Ayushi, most probably within this week, you will get the login credentials from where you can go for the recorded lectures. I'm in touch with the Tax Guru team and they are like finalizing all the aspects regarding the recordings. Because the thing is that we can download the recordings only after 3 to 4 hours of the session, and then we need to add it to cut out the breaks and each and everything, and then only we can upload on the server. So most probably within this week you will get the desired links. Then it will be updated on the regular basis, like for this yesterday's and today's seminars most probably will be uploaded by Tuesday or Wednesday over the server, because we require time in editing specifically. Okay, friends. Bye bye for now. Thank you. Thank you, friends.